Have you ever felt like life is unfair? You try your best to live kindly, to avoid harming anyone, yet things just don't seem to go your way. Why is it that someone as good-hearted as you keeps struggling with poverty, loneliness, or pain? Meanwhile, others who seem greedy, selfish, even cruel, live comfortably, surrounded by wealth and admiration. Maybe you've wondered, is the universe ignoring me? Have I done something wrong that I don't remember? In Buddhist teachings, nothing happens by accident. Every joy, every sorrow, is the result of karma, the seeds we've planted, not just in this life, but in many lives before this one. In today's video, we'll gently explore a difficult question. Why am I still suffering, even though I've done nothing wrong? And more importantly, we'll open the door to understanding and possibly transforming the unseen forces that shape our lives. Why am I still suffering even though I did nothing wrong? The Karma of Past Lives. Part 1. Understanding Karma and Rebirth. Why do we suffer even when we've done nothing wrong? 1. Why do good people still suffer? This is a question that lingers in many hearts. I live kindly. I never harm anyone. So why do I still suffer from poverty, loneliness, illness, or endless misfortune? Many believe that living a moral life should lead to happiness, but reality often proves otherwise. There are gentle, honest people who struggle their whole lives, while others who lie, exploit, and manipulate seem to enjoy comfort and success. From a worldly perspective, this feels unfair, but through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, we see a deeper truth. What we experience today is not just the result of what we've done in this lifetime. It is also the ripening of karmic seeds from countless past lives, many of which we no longer remember. Think of someone who planted a mango tree years ago and now eats its fruit. Not everyone harvesting today planted the seed yesterday. Likewise, the suffering or joy we experience now may come from choices made long, long ago. 2. What is karma in Buddhism? In Buddhist teachings, karma is not divine punishment, nor is it rigid fate. Karma simply means every intentional action creates a result, and action here goes beyond physical deeds. It includes our words, thoughts, emotions, and intentions, every movement of the mind and heart. Each of these creates a karmic imprint, like a seed planted in the field of consciousness. Whether or not we remember it, the seed continues to grow until it bears fruit, sometimes sooner, sometimes much later. For example, a person who habitually lies may not face immediate consequences, but over time, their mind becomes restless, distrustful, disconnected, and eventually, life reflects that confusion back to them. In contrast, someone who lives with honesty, compassion, and restraint may not see immediate rewards, but over time, they attract peace, clarity, and supportive conditions. So karma is not a judgment handed down. It's the natural flow of cause and effect. Every thought, every word, every deed is a seed. And when conditions are right, the result will appear, whether in this life or the next. 3. Rebirth and karmic memory. Why don't we remember? One reason people doubt karma is because they don't remember doing anything wrong. But according to the Buddha, this life is just one chapter in a much longer story. After the body dies, consciousness does not vanish. It carries on, shaped by all the karma it has collected, and is reborn in a new form. As a human, an animal, a celestial being, or even in lower realms, depending on one's karmic momentum. So why don't we remember our past lives? It's like waking up from a deep dream. You don't recall every detail, but the dream still shaped your emotions. Or like a USB drive, it stores thousands of files, even though you can't see them until you connect it to a computer. In the same way, our consciousness carries traces of countless past experiences, even if we don't consciously remember them. Those karmic impressions still shape our present life, our tendencies, our relationships, our challenges, often without us realizing why. For present suffering may be the fruit of old karma. So when someone lives kindly but still suffers, it doesn't mean they're being punished. It may mean they're experiencing the result of past actions, perhaps from this life, or even lifetimes ago. Or it may be a powerful opportunity to learn something essential for their spiritual growth. Buddhism doesn't encourage passive submission to karma. On the contrary, it teaches us to understand it, so that we can transform it. You may not be able to change the seeds you planted in the past, but you can absolutely choose what seeds you plant today. And that choice is where your freedom begins. Part 2. Transforming karma. What can we do to change our destiny? 1. It begins with awareness. The very first step in transforming karma is simple, yet profound. Recognize that karma exists in your life. Many people suffer repeatedly without ever stopping to ask, why does this pattern keep showing up for me? Is there something within me that's attracting or creating these situations? When we don't see karma, we fall into blame, blaming others, blaming fate, or drowning in self-pity. But with awareness, we begin to look inward and observe our own patterns of thought, speech, and action, the habits that quietly repeat themselves year after year. Awareness is not about self-judgment. It's the gentle, honest act of looking at ourselves clearly, asking, what kind of seeds am I planting? Through every word, every intention, every moment of anger or kindness. Only when we see this clearly can we begin to stop planting seeds of suffering and instead plant seeds of peace, compassion, and wisdom. 2. The power of generosity and giving. One of the most powerful and immediate ways to shift negative karma is through generosity, the practice of giving without expecting anything in return. Generosity isn't limited to money or material gifts. Sometimes, a sincere piece of advice, a small act of help at the right moment, or even a smile that brings comfort can be an act of deep generosity. Why does generosity have such transformative power? Because every time we give freely, without clinging, our heart opens. And a heart that opens becomes fertile ground for blessings to grow. Even those who are poor or struggling, if they can still give, even a little, with sincerity, will begin to dissolve their karmic burdens, like ice melting under sunlight. On the other hand, when we hold on tightly, when we live only for ourselves, our suffering becomes a closed loop. We trap ourselves within our own pain. Generosity is not about getting praise, nor is it about earning good karma points. It is about shifting from a contracted mind to an expansive one, from attachment to letting go. And this internal shift is what transforms karma. 3. Meditation, cleansing, and renewing the mind. Among all practices, meditation is one of the deepest and most direct ways to transform karma. When we sit down, close our eyes, and turn inward, we begin to see the true nature of our mind. All the anxiety, anger, jealousy, doubt, and restlessness that we often push away or act from unconsciously. Meditation isn't about suppressing or killing these states. It's about recognizing them, observing them, and gently letting them go, again and again. Just like still water reveals what lies beneath, a still mind helps us see clearly what's been driving us. Every time we meditate, we're not just calming the mind, we're also interrupting the karmic momentum. We stop reacting blindly, and in that space, wisdom begins to arise. Over time, the old karmic tendencies, craving, anger, ignorance, lose their fuel. The mind becomes clearer, lighter, more stable. And as the mind transforms, so does our life. 4. Acceptance, turning suffering into the path. Finally, to truly transform karma, we must learn to accept the karma that is already unfolding. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or resigning. It means dropping the inner resistance that often adds a second layer of suffering. I don't deserve this. Life is unfair. Why is this happening to me? That resistance becomes another form of karma, rooted in anger and aversion. Acceptance says, this is the result of past causes. I will walk through it with mindfulness and strength. In this way, suffering is no longer the enemy. It becomes the teacher. Each painful moment becomes an invitation to practice patience, compassion, insight. This is how meditators live. They don't run away from karma. They walk through it, with a heart full of love and a mind guided by clarity. Part 3. How to recognize which past karmas are ripening in the present. 1. Observe your present life as the fruit of past causes. In Buddhist teachings, nothing happens by accident. Every situation you face, every person who enters or leaves your life, every challenge you encounter, all of it is the result of past karmic seeds that have now ripened, whether from this life or from many lifetimes before. So how do you recognize which karmas are unfolding now? Begin by observing your present life with mindful awareness. Do you constantly struggle with money, no matter how hard you try? Do you repeat painful relationship patterns, even when you try to change your environment or partners? Do you experience chronic illness, deep anxiety, or emotional emptiness despite seeming normal on the outside? These are not random occurrences. They are manifestations of karmic imprints ripening into visible form. But more important than the external event is this: how does your mind react to it? Because karma doesn't only appear as outer conditions, it also reveals itself in the inner tendencies and reactions of your mind. 2. Signs that old karma is ripening. There are some common signs that past life or old karmic energies are surfacing in your present experience. Recurring patterns. You find yourself facing the same type of suffering repeatedly, even when circumstances change. Example: every relationship ends in betrayal. Every opportunity collapses at the last moment. Strong, uncontrollable emotions. You react with intensity, almost as if something invisible is driving your response. And then you regret it. This could be an old karmic habit being triggered. Unexplainable connections or tensions. You meet someone and feel instantly connected or instantly repelled, without logical reason. These karmic bonds often indicate a past life relationship that is now surfacing for resolution. Karmic illnesses. Certain illnesses or chronic health issues may not have clear medical explanations or may persist despite treatment. These could be linked to past actions involving harm, violence, or deep emotional trauma. Feeling held back despite effort. You try your best, you strive to improve, but something keeps pulling you back. Self-sabotage, fear, failure at the last step. This can be a sign of old karmic energy not yet cleared. 3. Understanding karma is not about blame, it's about awakening. When you recognize that you may be experiencing the result of past karma, the most important thing is this: don't blame yourself, don't blame others, and don't blame life. Understanding karma doesn't mean we passively accept suffering. It means we stop complaining and begin to take responsibility for how we move forward. Ask yourself, what am I being invited to learn from this? If this is the result of a past cause, what kind of seeds should I plant now to avoid repeating this in the future? This attitude marks the beginning of true wisdom. It allows you to stop playing the victim and instead become the conscious creator of your future karma. Part 4. Planting wholesome karma to change the future. 1. Karma is a living law, not a fixed destiny. In Buddhism, karma is not a permanent sentence. Even if you've planted negative seeds in the past, the future can still be transformed if you begin now to sow seeds of virtue and awareness. Karma is a dynamic flow, not a fixed fate. Cause and effect are fluid and responsive, able to shift when guided by mindfulness and intention. That's why the Buddha taught, no one can save you from suffering but yourself. But you can save yourself if you walk the path with understanding and right action. 2. 3 simple ways to plant good karma every day. Here are practical, powerful, and simple ways to create wholesome karma in your daily life, helping you reshape your future from the inside out. Practice 1. Be kind, even in the smallest things. Every act leaves an imprint. A gentle nod, a sincere thank you, holding the door, speaking with patience. All of these create tiny seeds of goodness in your heart and in the hearts of others. The world may feel harsh and indifferent, but if you can still choose kindness, you are quietly building merit and transforming your karmic stream. Practice 2. Release resentment, even when you've been hurt. We all face betrayal, misunderstanding, or unfairness. But if you hold on to hatred, you're only burning yourself with the fire of your own anger. Forgiveness isn't because they deserve it. It's because you deserve peace. When you let go of resentment, your mind clears, and you stop creating fresh negative karma from your reactions. Practice 3. Cultivate mindful thoughts, clean inner speech. The mind is the root of all karma. Jealousy, greed, anger, they all start as thoughts before becoming actions. But a mindful mind, a spacious, calm, observant mind, helps you choose wisely instead of reacting blindly. You don't need to be a saint. If today, you are just a little more conscious than yesterday, you are already changing your karmic destiny. 3. Patience and humility. Karma doesn't shift overnight. Some karmas are deep, planted long ago. You can't expect to sit in meditation today and have everything transformed tomorrow. Transforming karma is like turning a giant ship. It takes time, steady effort, and quiet humility. You might fall into old habits. You might get discouraged. But the key is to return to the path again and again. Keep planting. Keep walking. Keep showing up. Just like growing a tree. You can't dig up the seed every day to check if it's sprouting. Instead, you plant with faith, nurture with mindfulness, and trust that the fruits will come in their own season. Part 5: From Darkness Toward the Light. You may be going through a dark time right now. Poverty, misunderstanding, repeated mistakes, or a deep sense of weariness with no clear way out. Maybe you've asked yourself, I live with kindness. Why do I still suffer? I didn't harm anyone. Why does life keep pushing me down? But if you've stayed with this message until now, if you're sitting quietly, turning inward, if your heart still holds a spark that wants to understand, release, and transform, then that is already the beginning of new karma. Karma born of awareness, compassion, and the longing for freedom. We cannot change the past, but we can change how we meet the past with mindfulness. We cannot control everything that happens, but we can choose what we plan in the present. And from those present seeds, the future will unfold, not as blind fate, but as the natural result of every word, every thought, every action we make today with awareness. Don't wait until the suffering ends to start your spiritual path. Let your pain become the very fuel for awakening. Let it break your heart open, teach you about karma, and guide you toward a life of wisdom, compassion, and inner freedom. Darkness is not where you belong. You belong to the light, and you can become that light for yourself and for those still wandering in the dark. Together we've walked through a journey, not just to understand why we may suffer poverty despite doing no harm, but to open a deeper doorway into how karma truly works, and most importantly, how we can free ourselves from the invisible cycles that bind us. You may have once believed you were a victim of fate. You might have thought, I didn't hurt anyone. Why is life so unfair to me? But as we've explored, karma doesn't operate on a simple system of good people get rewarded, bad people get punished. Instead, it unfolds based on seeds we've planted, perhaps long, long ago. And those seeds don't live only in actions. They live in our thoughts, emotions, habits, and inner reactions, the silent architects of our future. If you are poor, not just in money, but in love, in peace, in opportunity, pause for a moment. Don't rush to blame life. And please, don't blame yourself either. Instead, ask yourself, what have I been planting day after day? Through my thoughts, my speech, my actions. Am I repeating old karmic patterns unconsciously again and again? And most importantly, what am I planting right now, in this very moment? Because while we cannot undo the past, we can absolutely start over from right here. We've learned together how to transform karma through awareness, compassion, and mindfulness. How to recognize which karmas are ripening by observing life's repeating patterns and the emotions they stir. And most importantly, how to plant wholesome seeds each day through simple acts of kindness, forgiving when hurt, and choosing conscious thought over reactivity. We've also answered a painful question. Why do some people commit harm and still live in comfort? Not because they've escaped karma, but because past good seeds are ripening now, while bad ones are waiting for the right time. And perhaps, in their restless heart or sleepless nights, the fruit of suffering has already begun. You may not be able to control everything that happens, but you can choose how you respond. And that is where true transformation begins. Freedom is not about how much you're given. It's about how deeply you've let go, how fully you've understood, how clearly you can rest in awareness, even when things don't go your way. If you've lived in darkness, remember, you are also the one who can light the first candle. No one else can do it for you. But you're not alone on this path. There are many, just like you, who are quietly learning to transform their pain into wisdom and compassion. Maybe you're still listening now, not because you're curious about past lives, but because your heart is finally ready to change this life. And if so, take the next step, with softness, with patience, and with trust in the path that always leads back to light. May you understand karma deeply, live with awareness, and be truly free. May old karma dissolve through insight and compassion. May what you plant today bloom into peace in all your tomorrows.